Can you create value by yourself? Can a business role function in isolation? No, of course not. In Sweden we have this old saying, ensam är stark, which translates to something like alone is strong, but that's of course just nonsense. That you take control over your own destiny is not the same thing as that you can make an impact in isolation, and the same is true for a technology. For a value network to function, the participating roles need to cooperate. This cooperation or these partnerships or alliances may take many different forms. What partnerships and alliances that are required depend. Partnerships should, as a role, not be tighter than necessary, but however this balance is quite hard to accomplish. What is then a partnership in this context? Well, we talk here about a collaborative relationship between two or more value network roles, with the intent of accomplishing mutually compatible goals that would be difficult for each to achieve alone. So all parties should then gain from this cooperation, and the division of the created value should be perceived as fair. What partnerships are then needed in a specific case or for a system to function? Here we see a hierarchy of partnerships. The higher we get, the tighter the cooperation, the more each party risks to achieve results. In a value network, usually all these different types of partnerships appear. We go here from low levels as supplier to marketing related partnerships to licensing, intellectual property, and on the top, joint ventures and mergers and acquisitions representing a full integration. To say that a partnership is the solution is quite easy. To get it in place is, however, quite difficult. It demands a lot of time and resources. And to achieve set goals with a partnership is unfortunately quite rare. However, when a partnership works, it usually delivers beyond initially set expectations and scope. A structured process may help to improve the success rate with partnerships. The process becomes more complex the higher you go up in the pyramid, the more integration that's needed. But as a general rule, we can follow the process that we see here. We start with strategic development. So we need to clearly define what challenge the partnership should tackle. With a clear view of the strategic development, we move on to the partner assessment. Do the partners have compatible goals, values, and expectations? And then the contract negotiations. Can a balanced agreement be achieved? A balance between what you invest and risk compared to the value gained. And the last step here is the implementation of a structure and process to follow and manage the partnership. Why do partnerships fail? This is really important to understand, as it may become a major barrier for the implementation of a new technology. There are many studies here, and usually the following reasons are mentioned in a somewhat falling order. And the most common one being that the expectations on a partnership are overly optimistic. But we also have reasons like poor communication between the partners, lack of shared benefits, slow results and payback, lack of financial commitment, misunderstood operating principles, cultural mismatch, lack of partnership experience, etc. But if you follow the process that we discussed before, a number of those may be avoided. Let's take an example of a working partnership within the online music industry, but first some history here. The phonograph was invented by Thomas Edison in 1877 and evolved into the vinyl record that was the dominating format up until the 1980s. ABBA's album The Visitors was the first commercially launched CD in 1982, and by the early 1990s the CD was the dominating format. When we had the increase in penetration of internet and storage capacity, the illegal sharing of music became more and more prevalent. Napster's peer-to-peer application was launched in 1999, and many services like that followed. But no working value network was then achieved. And in response to this, Apple launched the iTunes Store in 2003, and by 2010 it became the biggest music vendor in the world, but not giving the customer experience that the Napster type of services was delivering. But in 2008, Spotify was launched, managing to combine the peer-to-peer service benefits with a working business model. This is an example where it took quite some time until we had a working value network. From the launch of Napster in 1999 to it took almost a decade before we had Spotify arriving, introducing a listen as much as you like subscription model. Key to the success of Spotify was partnering with the main record labels. In essence, Spotify gave away the fifth of the company to companies like Sony BMG, Universal Music, Warner Music and EMI. And this is one example how to get a balance and how partnerships are needed to achieve a working value network and to fully get the new technology accepted on the market. However, the business model of Spotify is still discussed, but we'll come back to that later. In the next video, we will elaborate a bit more on this, and we will look in particular on the different dependencies between the different roles in the value network.